Imagine Spider-Man in an all-new black costume fighting against an army of crime in his darkest movie yet. The Hulk returning to glorious, horrifying form in a way nobody would expect. The X-Men bursting onto the scene in an all-new way, paving the way for a new era of MCU storytelling across movies and TV. And finally, the return of a long-lost MCU favourite, and the debut of a much-awaited character to weave a whole new, unexplored frontier for the MCU. 4 years, 12 projects, and unlimited possibilities. This is the MCU reboot Phase 1, Tales to Astonish. I'm the Capes Clinician, and let's get right into it. Be sure to watch this video through to the very end, because the projects I introduce at the beginning are going to come to a head towards the end of the phase in a massive new way. So let's get right into it with project number 1, Nova. So why Nova? Well, this is something that Kevin Feige has been excited about for a very long time. We know that Nova is a character he's very passionate about, but it also ties into the first point of my big MCU reboot plan, the three-pronged approach: street level, cosmic, and one mystery thing you're going to have to stick to the end to understand. Nova is a cosmic-focused movie. With Guardians of the Galaxy, we explored space in the MCU, but with Nova, we're going to go deeper, exploring space politics through the eyes of Richard Rider as Nova. We're going to explore the Kree and the Skrulls in a brand new way, the supreme intelligence, and the grand myriad of different forces conspiring within the cosmic side of the MCU. And this is going to tie into later projects in the phase as well, but I'm just going to keep you on the edge of your seat for now. The post-credit scene of Nova is really exciting. Nova's flying through space when he discovers a dead world, ravaged by an unknown threat. Landing on the planet, he calls into Nova Prime. Nova Prime asks him what's going on. Nova looks around to see complete devastation, and he tells Nova Prime the planet hasn't just been destroyed, it's been annihilated. And that sets the stage for something bigger to come. Now, if you like the idea of MCU politics being explored in an interesting way, get ready for our next project. May 2028, Disney+, Daredevil Born Again Season 3. Now this is going to be a big one, and it's bigger than you might expect on the surface. Not only is this the return of Matt Murdock, Wilson Fisk, and all of the other characters from the original Daredevil show, but this is charting the path for a brand new street-level MCU, in a way we haven't really seen it before. This is going to tie into something a little bit later, so stay tuned for that, but in this season, we're going to see Daredevil returned more to his roots of that gritty street-level hero, but we're also going to introduce some more exuberant elements to the character. We're essentially going to unify what we've seen with Daredevil before. We're going to see him in his red suit, but we're going to take a little bit of the energy that we saw with him in the She-Hulk TV show, add a little bit of fun to the mix. But I'm also going to be taking inspiration from Brian Michael Bendis' and Alex Maleev's run on Daredevil. It's going to be really gritty and street level, but I'm also going to take the Kingpin off the board for this season, but maybe he'll return a little bit later. The way I see this season of Daredevil ending is in pretty dire straits for Matt Murdock and the rest of the cast. With the Kingpin taken off the board, a power vacuum has opened up, and despite Matt's best efforts throughout the season to keep it contained, it explodes towards the end of the season in a big way. Daredevil loses, and now the stage is set for something bigger to come after. There's going to be a reckoning, but it's not going to be on Disney+. Now, these two projects have been pretty small fry, so I'm going to give you something bigger, the thing that you've been clamoring for years, or that I've been clamoring for, certainly, for years. Marvel Studios returns to film with X-Men in November 2028. Now, why November? Well, it's exactly a year after Avengers Secret Wars, which means you get essentially a pseudo-trilogy of Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, and then X-Men. But X-Men is definitely a bit pared back from those massive event movies. I imagine this with an adult cast. Think an adult Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm. But they're training a younger generation of mutants. Maybe we could pull from some of the most recent X-Men runs, like the Uncanny X-Men, or from some of the lesser known mutants from the Krakoa age of the X-Men. Now in this case, you get both of the benefits. Not only do you get a young X-Men team that younger viewers can relate to and can serve as an audience surrogate, but you also get advanced, grown-up, mature, and in control of their powers versions of classic and familiar faces, like Cyclops. We're still going to maintain the ideological battle between Professor X and Magneto, but this is going to be different. In a rebooted MCU, the X-Men aren't exactly hated and feared by everybody, and we're going to set the stage for something bigger to come in the future, as I imagine that this is going to be a trilogy. As for villains of the X-Men movie, well, it could kind of go either way. My pick would be Mr. Sinister. He's a villain that we saw in X-Men 97, and he's a classic foe for the X-Men, but he's not really been explored properly on screen. I think Mr. Sinister could be really interesting because of his ties to the X-Men, specifically as we saw in the X-Men 97 TV show. But also, Mr. Sinister is powerful, and he has connections to all different corners of this rebooted MCU, and we're going to see that take place in the post-credit scene of our X-Men movie. In the post-credit scene, we know that Mr. Sinister has been defeated, but as we saw during the Krakoa era of the X-Men, there are multiple different clones of Mr. Sinister. They've just taken out Mr. Sinister Prime, but that doesn't mean Sinister can't come back later. And one of these more meagre, grunt-level versions of Mr. Sinister is in the lair, trying to recuperate after his massive defeat at the hands of the X-Men. And he activates something, a beacon that sends a message to Orchis, a series of scientists up in satellites above the Earth, and they activate a protocol, Nimrod. Nimrod is going to be a nightmare for the X-Men going forward. It's like a Sentinel, but enhanced in scary and unimaginable ways. And speaking of a nightmare, we come to our next project. February 2029, Doctor Strange returns on screen with Doctor Strange in the Nexus of Nightmares. This is finally the horror movie that I think Multiverse of Madness maybe should have been. Doctor Strange faces off against Nightmare in a rebooted MCU, free of the shackles of the original MCU plot, and able to go darker, deeper into body horror, cosmic horror. Think Cthulhu and other characters like that, but coming through in visuals unlike anything we've seen in the MCU. Doctor Strange in 2016 broke new ground with its visuals. We're going to do it again in Doctor Strange 3. The post-credit scene of Doctor Strange starts to set the stage for that big third unexplored corner of the MCU that I teased earlier. This is the supernatural MCU, something we haven't really seen before and something that's going to come back in a huge way. At the end of Doctor Strange 3, in our post-credit scene, we see Doctor Strange, barely surviving his battle with Nightmare, coming back to the Sanctum Sanctorum to lick his wounds, heal, and prepare for what comes next. But to greet him stands a man, sword in its sheath, greeting Doctor Strange, telling him he needs his help because something big is coming. Yes, that's right, we're finally going to introduce Blade. But how does Blade fit into everything else? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned for the rest of the timeline to find out. I told you something big was coming, a reckoning, after the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 3, and I'm going to deliver in May 2029, with Spider-Man back in black. This time, the Kingpin returns with a vengeance, hungrier for power than ever before, and pushed to the brink of desperation after the events of Daredevil Season 3. Now this time, we're going to be adapting Devil's Reign from Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil, and we're also going to be pulling from the Back in Black storyline during J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man. It's going to be a dark movie. As I promised, it's Spider-Man's darkest movie ever. It's going to be violent, exploring the underbelly of New York in a way that we've never seen before, really establishing the street-level firmament of the new MCU reboot. We're going to be introducing Black Cat and her on and off relationship with Spider-Man, and Daredevil is going to be pushed to the brink in the post-credit scene. Following the events of Back in Black, Daredevil's faith is broken. Not just his faith in Catholicism, but his faith in people, and that pushes him to take a radical new approach to crime fighting and to life in general. This is setting up Daredevil Born Again Season 4, which is going to adapt the second half of Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil. But if you want to see that, and really see it properly planned out with the rest of a Phase 2 of the reboot, consider subscribing. This is the start of 2026, and I'm really excited to be bringing you brand new content this year. I've got so many ideas planned, from a breakdown of Spider-Man The Child Within from the Spectacular Spider-Man run by JMD and Sal Buscema, to an absolute Batman in real life video, and even more to come. I'm really passionate about comic books. I hope you can see that coming through in this video, and if you want to join me for the journey, please consider subscribing. But anyway, enough talk, let's get back to the timeline. And now November has come around again. Now, November's been defined by huge releases in my MCU timeline: Doomsday, Secret Wars, X-Men, and now what? Well, I can think of nothing better than the Fantastic Four returning in their sequel, the Fantastic Four Journey into Mystery. This time, I'm going to use the Fantastic Four to flesh out the cosmic side of the MCU. Remember, that was one of our three-pronged approach to the new Marvel Cinematic Universe. This time, I'm going to keep the Fantastic Four in space for 90% of the movie or so. Most of that movie is going to be exploring the unexplored frontiers of space, firmly grounding us in science fiction. I want to take inspiration from Ryan North's most recent run on the Fantastic Four, playing with interesting concepts like the China Brain or pareidolia. I want to really push the visuals of this movie even more than the first Fantastic Four movie pushed it. I want to really see those Kirbyisms come out in the visuals of Fantastic Four. Kind of Doctor Strangey, but less horror and more wonder. the Fantastic Four, from now on, are going to be a team that's not only a family, but they're pushing the boundaries of belief, science and theory in a way that we've never seen before in the MCU. But what to do with that post-credit scene? I mulled over this one for a little bit. I was thinking, we're cosmic, how do we tie in with the cosmic? Well, this is what I would do. In the post-credit scene, the Fantastic Four are flying through space when they receive a distress call. Picking up, Reed Richards comes face to face with Richard Rider's Nova, who tells them that their services are needed because a massive annihilation wave is spreading across the cosmos. And without Reed's genius and the help of the rest of the Fantastic Four, he fears that the universe is doomed. This is setting the stage for something bigger to come in Phase 2. And this is where we really start to ramp up the pace of our rebooted MCU. With February 2030, I'm going to do a Disney Plus show. Now, I mentioned that the X-Men are going to be appearing across movies and television. Well, this is where that X-Men TV show comes in. Disney Plus's Wolverine, February 2030. But why a TV show for Wolverine? Well, Wolverine is an interesting character. Because he's lived for so long, and he's been experimented on, with Weapon X, his memory is shattered. And I want to play around with that in this Disney Plus TV show, an episodic format that's a bit more experimental, kind of like WandaVision. I want to explore different eras where Wolverine has been situated in, and with each episode, we learn a little bit more about Logan, as he tries to unpack his past and come to a new realization about himself before he joins the X-Men later on in Phase 2. But there's one interesting thing that I want to introduce in the Wolverine TV show. In one of the episodes, I want it to again lean more into the horror. As you can tell, I'm a big horror fan, and here I'm going to use this opportunity to introduce something that's going to be really important a little bit later on, so make sure you continue to watch this video. In this episode, Wolverine is going to account the story of how he fought a monster, a beast, something that he has never fought before and who he has never had to fight since, someone that beat him within an inch of his life in his most brutal and bloody battle ever. In this episode, I want to have Wolverine face off against the Hulk, and that's going to be a massive part of the future MCU. But before we get back to that, I need to flesh out the supernatural side of the MCU more. I can't just leave you guys on a cliffhanger like that with the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange. Blade went to meet with Doctor Strange, saying something big is coming. How can we flesh out that supernatural side more? I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're going to see the return of a long-lost MCU favourite. Well, here it comes, in a brand new way. The MCU returns to film with Moon Knight, The Midnight Mission. Now this might be unexpected, because Moon Knight was a Disney Plus show, but I'm going to take him into the films because I think Moon Knight deserves to be up on that big stage. Now, the Midnight Mission subtitle is a reference to Jed McKay's most recent run on Moon Knight, where Moon Knight operates out of the Midnight Mission, a kind of living headquarters with a supporting cast of characters like Tigra, 8-Ball, and other characters who I've really come to love in the comic books. This time, we're going to take a different spin on Moon Knight. I liked the Moon Knight TV show, but I didn't think it was that accurate to the comics. And even though comic accuracy isn't the be-all end-all, I think the comics do it better. So this time, I'm going to take some elements from Jeff Lemire's run on Moon Knight, the kind of trippy, more mental health side of Moon Knight, and I'm going to infuse it with Jed McKay's more action-packed, supernatural-focused run on Moon Knight. In this movie, Moon Knight is going to go to the depths of the supernatural, but in a different way to Doctor Strange. This isn't really horror, this is more religious-focused mystery and wonder. He's going to be dealing more with the concepts of Khonshu, different gods, and how they war in the background of New York. He's going to have more of a humanoid antagonist in an Asgardian character, recently introduced in Jed McKay's Moon Knight run, dealing substances to the underbelly of New York. And he's going to be debilitating them with that substance. But he's going to be more of a vessel for a wider god war that's going on in the background. We're going to blend the supernatural and the cosmic together in this really exciting action-packed movie coming out in May. And this post-credit scene is going to be probably one that you might have expected. Moon Knight is sitting in the Midnight Mission, having just defeated the enemy at the end of the movie. And a man comes to him saying he needs his help, and Blade sits down in front of Moon Knight saying that he has a proposal for him. Now in this way, I'm kind of echoing a little bit of what the MCU did with the original Phase 1, with Nick Fury recruiting different heroes, but this time it's Blade, and he's not just recruiting heroes, he's recruiting a mix of heroes and kind of anti-heroes for a completely different kind of mission. This isn't a traditional fight, this is something different, and they need the skills of Moon Knight, Blade, Doctor Strange, and more in order to defeat this big threat. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, something that I teased as the second major part of this MCU Phase 1, the Immortal Hulk comes to Disney+. First appearing in the Wolverine Disney Plus show, we're going to explore him again at the end of the same year, so that he doesn't really leave the audience's mind. Now, I know a lot of people who just don't really like the Hulk, because his version in the MCU has been a bit lackluster. Here, I'm redefining him for a whole new generation of viewers. The Immortal Hulk is going to be a body horror, R-rated TV show on Disney+. It's going to be gory, it's going to be exciting, and it's going to blend a little bit of that supernatural, cosmic, religious horror from Moon Knight, but take it and spin it in a completely different way. This time, Bruce Banner is on the run, and we're going to closely follow the Immortal Hulk run by Al Ewing, Joe Bennett, and other artists and writers that made up that massive, classic, seminal run on the Hulk. This time, I want the Hulk to be scary again. I don't want him to just be strong, I want him to frighten people. Not just the criminals in the show, but you at home. I want you to question, is the Hulk even a hero anymore? Or is the Hulk a supernatural monster that needs to be stopped? I'm going to be taking this in a brand new direction, and if you want to see more, please be sure to subscribe. Phase 2 is going to take the Hulk in an interesting, amazing new direction that I don't think you would expect. Now, the phase is almost done, but not without some big surprises. Right at the end, in 2031, I've got 3 big movies that are going to massively pave the way for what comes in the future of the MCU, starting with February 2031, Black Panther, Shadows of Wakanda. Now, this is going to be a really interesting and fun movie, and I'm kind of torn between what I want to do, so let me know in the comments which one of these ideas you like more. On one hand, maybe this could be more of a cosmic-focused movie. Now, I know that sounds weird, but just hear me out. The intergalactic empire of Wakanda is something that's becoming increasingly prominent in MCU storytelling, whether that's Jonathan Hickman's run on The Avengers or even in the Marvel Rivals video game, where the intergalactic empire is a map. Maybe the Shadows of Wakanda is about looking back at Wakanda on Earth, but how it's moved forward to a more cosmic-focused nation. Maybe we could tie a little bit into Nova and the space politics, while also having T'Challa, Shuri, and other characters returning. T'Challa, of course, being the son of the original T'Challa that we introduced in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Now, my second idea is something completely different. Maybe we could borrow a little bit from the most recent Ultimate Black Panther run by Brian Hill and explore political infighting within Wakanda, the shadows of Wakanda, meaning the shadow deals that happen in the background that determine the fate of the nation that even T'Challa doesn't know about. He has to uncover undercover rings of cults, different leaders and different factions in the underbelly of Wakanda, kind of mirroring a little bit of what we did with Spider-Man Back in Black. We're peeling back the MCU and revealing that it's grander than we ever thought. It's a subversion of what you expect, and those are the shadows of Wakanda. Now, let me know in the comments which of those 2 ideas you like the most. Now, the next movie is a big swing. In May 2031, the Ultimates arrive on the big screen. Now, this is going to be where we unify our Avengers, our Thunderbolts, and some other stragglers from the MCU, maybe like Star-Lord, I don't know what he's up to, maybe bring him into the Ultimates. This is going to unify all of those teams, and it's going to be more of a grounded Avengers movie, but of course called the Ultimates now. And the reason why I'm calling it the Ultimates isn't just to tie into the existing hype around Denys Camp's The Ultimates book, even though I think that book is amazing and definitely deserves a movie adaptation. But it's more because this version of the Avengers, the Ultimates, are different to the traditional team. They're not beloved by the entire world, maybe the world kinda hates and fears them a little bit, almost like the X-Men, and inverting our relationship with the Avengers. This time, the Ultimates are dealing with different threats, and maybe we can even introduce the Maker, a different version of Reed Richards, orchestrating the Hand, almost like an inversion of S.H.I.E.L.D. As you can see, we're subverting expectations of what we loved about the original MCU. We're twisting things in a darker way so that we can come up out of it in Phase 2 and have an all-new era of storytelling. This is what Tales to Astonish is all about. Everything that we've been building has been towards this central point. The rebooted MCU is about Tales to Astonish. It's about wonder, it's about awe, it's about supernatural horror, it's about everything the MCU hasn't delivered before, and The Ultimates is almost like a culmination of all of those things, but not in a massive billion-dollar grossing event movie, more in the smaller things. And that's what I want the MCU to do, redefine itself in smaller moments, without needing a massive billion-trillion-dollar movie just to get people's butts in seats. And there's one more thing left. And if you've watched to this point of the video, thank you very much, and comment down below to let me know you watched the whole thing through. I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we've spoken about so far. Leave a like and be sure to subscribe. But the final thing, the final piece tying this whole phase together, finally in the MCU, making good on my promise at the beginning of the video, Blade comes to the big screen. This is something that I've been waiting on for ages. I don't know why Marvel can't make a Blade movie, but finally it's happening. This Blade movie takes place before some of the stuff that we've seen in the post-credit scenes, and it gives us context as to who Blade is and what this big threat is finally going to be. In this movie, it's going to be pretty traditional. Blade is going to be fighting against Dracula and his army of vampires, while also traversing different darker elements of the MCU on an international romp that's going to just be a hell of a lot of fun. And yes, it's going to be an R-rated movie, like a classic horror movie slasher, just in time for right after Halloween. And with that, Phase 1, Tales to Astonish, comes to an end. 12 projects over 4 years and 3 prongs. Cosmic, street level, and supernatural, all redefining the MCU for a whole new era of bold storytelling. But what did you think? Let me know in the comments what you thought about this video and my ideas for all of these different movies and TV shows. Is there anything you want removed or replaced from Phase 1? Please let me know. I'm really excited actually about where the MCU is going after Secret Wars, and so I was compelled to make this timeline for you guys. And if you'd like to see a full video about any of the original projects that I've listed in this timeline, please just let me know. If there are enough comments and enough likes, I'd love to cook up a video for specific plots of any of these projects. But until then, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope to see you soon for my next video. Bye bye.